Hey Flashbackers, Troy David Phillips here, back at Flashback Comics, doing the Troy David Spotlight here at Flashback. Today we're going to take this opportunity to make our first 2014 segment about female characters in comics. Got a lot of ground to cover here, so I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to start with Marvel Comics. Yeah, I'm an Avenger. Marvel Comics has given us a lot of interesting female characters over the years, not least of which is the Black Widow, one of their premier characters. She first appeared in Tales of Suspense as an antagonist for Iron Man, and eventually moved on to becoming an Avenger. She was a champion. She hung out with the Defenders for a minute. She was partnered to Daredevil. She had her own book. She's actually had several of her own books. Lengthy series, mini-series, series that didn't necessarily go very far. Marvel has brought her back in the new Marvel Point Now imprint. So there is a little look at the inside of the ongoing Black Widow. This is art by Phil Noto and Nathan Edmondson doing the artwork. I'll give you a good, nice, bright pop there. The Black Widow is a very intriguing character, Russian super spy. She has undergone an evolution of characterization over her very lengthy history, and she of course was most recently seen in the Iron Man films, the Avenger films. We'll be seeing a lot more of her excellent job, incidentally, Scarlett Johansson. Marvel has also given us Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers was introduced in the Captain Marvel series, the Kree Captain Marvel, and she moved along, eventually coming into her own power set, becoming the heroine Ms. Marvel in the 1970s. She also was an Avenger. She lost her powers. She was a friend to the X-Men. She hung out with them for quite a bit. She is currently headlining her book, Captain Marvel. Bit of a promotion there. Allows Marvel to keep the Captain Marvel name alive. Written by Kelly Sue DeConnick. This is a very good book. Takes Carol Danvers and continues to move her front and center as Marvel's premier heroine. Her power set's been expanded on. She's also gone through a lot. She's had her membership in the Avengers suspended in her past. She had a bout of alcoholism, which she's successfully overcome. She's lost her powers, gotten her powers back, reconciled with some of her arch enemies, and some of her other enemies she's probably never ever going to make peace with. The Captain Marvel series is definitely a good one to check out. Spinning out of that will be a new character called Ms. Marvel. It might seem a bit confusing. However, Ms. Marvel will be a new character, just carrying on that name, while Carol Danvers will continue to be Captain Marvel, headlining and guest starring in the Avengers as a regular. Marvel's UK imprint. Some of you might remember this from the late 1980s and the 1990s. The Marvel UK imprint featured books like Motormouth and Killswitch, and Knights of Pendragon, Dragon's Claws, Death's Head. One of their characters was Dark Angel. Dark Angel is being featured in this one-off issue. It's Marvel's Revolutionary War series. There's a checklist in the back of the series, so you could keep track of the books. Instead of doing Revolutionary War number 1, 2, 3, 4 sequentially like that, it's Revolutionary War Alpha, followed by Revolutionary War Dark Angel, Revolutionary War Knights of Pendragon, and so on. Dark Angel, she gets her shot here. She gets the spotlight. You see her, oh look, bedside manner with Mephisto. If you ever liked any of the British imprint comics, Marvel's Revolutionary War captures the characters very well. If you've not seen them before, I'd recommend picking up the books and giving them a shot. You'll see some characters you're kind of familiar with, like Captain Britain, and you'll see other characters that you're less familiar with. Some of them, like Pete Wisdom, have been used in the X-Men over the years. Other characters have kind of languished, fallen by the wayside. Dark Angel is the topic of discussion there. You want to pick her book up and check her out as she moves through her kind of ill-thought alliance with Mephisto. Also from Marvel, we have the X-Men book. Don't let the title fool you. this roster is composed of the female characters. And so you see a lot of Jubilee, a lot of Storm, a lot of Psylocke, Monet, the female characters that comprise probably about half the X-Men overall, really. You know, we're all familiar with Wolverine and Colossus and the Beast. Well, there's a lot more. There's a female component here that should not be ignored. Wood, Dodson, Keith. The Dodson artwork in this is absolutely gorgeous. He renders his characters very well. It's a very good command of action. The series is just clicking along at a stellar pace. I'm loving the X-Men books a lot more, actually, than I thought I would. I actually reached a point where I thought I'd hit X-Men saturation. But really, this particular iteration, the X-Men, it's just really good reading. On the other side of the street from Marvel, we have DC Comics, and I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with DC's plethora of female characters. I'm going to start right here with everyone's favorite, crazy as a bag of cats, as I like to say, Harley Quinn. Her series, she has her own new ongoing series. It's in the New 52, but her story is kind of disconnected from what's ongoing with her other appearances in Suicide Squad. She has moved halfway across the city. She's got a tenement apartment she's a landlord of, and she talks to herself. She talks to her stuffed beaver. She has a dead beaver that she keeps and talks to because, as I said, she's crazy as a bag of cats. Harley Quinn's book is a bit more lighthearted in tone and a lot of fun. You will see guest appearances from other characters like Poison Ivy. I won't give a lot of spoilers away, but Harley Quinn is a good book to check out. And another one from the Batman family is Batgirl. Now, Gail Simone's still writing this. Gail Simone's writing on Batgirl is phenomenal. This is the first installment of the Gothtopia story arc. And this follows from the events of Batgirl Wanted. Awesome Robert Gill artwork. You've basically taken Batgirl from the events of Death of the Family, where she's now doing her, all of the characters from Death of the Family. Bruce has sort of alienated himself. Barbara is exploring her relationship, or sort of relationship, with Dick Grayson. Obviously, Dick Grayson has his own problems going on right now with the events of Forever Evil. But I move on to Supergirl, Superman's Kryptonian cousin. The New 52 iteration of Supergirl is a little bit less of the good girl next door that many people are familiar with from earlier series, the 1970 series in particular. Supergirl is a bit more angry in her alienation. She is Kryptonian, and unlike her cousin Clark, Clark identifies with being human, because of his Earth parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent. Well, Supergirl identifies herself as being Kryptonian, and so whenever there's a nugget of Kryptonian culture dangled in front of her that's taken away from, say, the events of Krypton Returns, it just sets her off further and further. This is a character that's going to be getting a series of facelifts. Her story direction will be taking off. Tony Bedard's been doing an excellent job with characterizing her. But we're also getting to see a lot more of Lobo since his spotlight in the September villain spotlight. A little bit left of center for DC is the World's Finest title, which features the Huntress and Power Girl. Huntress is a character who's had her origin restarted a couple of times, and most recently we're kind of back to the original roots of the character. Power Girl, likewise, the Earth 2 Kryptonian cousin to Superman, and her origin underwent a series of convoluted attempts to reconcile post-crisis events. Now the two characters find themselves on an Earth that is not actually their own, and they find themselves in contention with the machinations of Darkseid and Darkseid's minions. This is actually the first Contact prelude issue, so we're pretty much about to launch into a very explosive story arc here. Power Girl has had some issues with her powers fluctuating. They turn on uncontrollably, they turn off at the worst possible times. you really want to kind of get into this. The characters also, they are interacting with the other characters, the other DC equivalents, the Batman of this other Earth, and the Mr. Terrific of this other Earth. So they carry relationship knowledge from their home world, but here these people aren't the same. So that creates some tension, some divisions. And now I come up to DC's big gun, Wonder Woman, from way back in the 1940s, created by Dr. Moulton. This character has endured so very much for so very long, but the current New 52 series has Wonder Woman, again, firmly rooted in Olympian mythology. It's different from what it was before. It's definitely different from her 1980s series run, but Brian Azzarello has done an excellent job of taking the character and giving her these new relationships and having her sort of take control of her role in these relationships. She is first and foremost a warrior, so it's not unlike her to roll up her sleeves, draw her sword, and take care of business. But she's a smart, savvy character, and I think as you get into the stories and read them, you'll start to find that too. There's a reason why her books are picking up a lot of interest these days. Now, Marvel and DC have certainly a large body of female characters, but they're not alone in comics in terms of female leading characters. From Image Comics, the team of Brubaker and Epting have given us Velvet. It's an interesting take on the kind of moneypenny secretary, those of us who are James Bond fans, and it takes the character in a more action-oriented direction. She is front and center in a plot not of her own making, and she finds herself dealing with a situation that she has no control over. She's trying to get some control of. The internal art is just absolutely beautiful. I love it when Epting and Brubaker work together. They work together on a very successful iteration of Captain America. Also, Montclair and Amy Reeder, an Image, giving us Rocket Girl. A very interesting time travel story, science fiction time travel story, with the titular character coming into the past with advanced technology and trying to fix something. Again, I don't want to drop too many story elements and spoil too much stuff, but it's a very popular book, and the characters are interesting and engaging. The internal artwork is absolutely phenomenal. So when you drop in, give Rocket Girl a try. Everybody that knows me knows I love Dynamite Entertainment, and having said that, enough said, but I'm going to show some Dynamite books here. First, I'm going to show you Miss Fury. It's not new for me to hype this book. I love the character. Miss Fury is actually a classic Golden Age character who's been brought back into a modern story context. She is currently involved in time traveling, jumping back and forth from 1943 to 2013, trying to fix a Nazi plot to alter the future in the Nazis' favor. Clearly she's having some issues with that. Miss Fury guest stars in a book with the Black Sparrow and the Shadow, also Black Sparrow being another character. Classic pulp action, modern context, you get to see the two of them together. Noir takes place as a separate continuity from the Miss Fury series, so you can read one without reading the other and not be terribly lost. I'm reading them both, I'm loving them both. Both characters are very action-oriented, very, take charge, independent-minded, modern women of action, and yeah, they are actually kind of sexy in those skin-tight black leather costumes. But speaking of sexy, at the top of the heap, I'm going to bring you Gail Simone's Legend of Red Sonja. The Red Sonja character, originally created by Robert E. Howard, modified over the years, Roy Thomas doing the most famous iteration of her, and artist Frank Thorne giving us that iconic, the chainmail bikini look. Internally, the book is, again, very pulp, swords and sorcery, action-oriented. Red Sonja is that classic female who will not allow herself to fall into the arms of a man unless he's bested her in battle. A lot of battle goes on, a lot of swords are drawn, a lot of heads are lopped off. Very good stuff. Gail Simone has done a beautiful job of taking the character, again, giving her a personality and advancing her through her series of adventures. So, if you're looking for good stories involving leading female characters, in comics today, there are a lot of those things for you. That's really the tip of the iceberg. DC has more to offer. I didn't even talk about Catwoman. Marvel will have more to offer. They're going to be dropping the new She-Hulk #1 on us. They, of course, have strong leading characters like Storm and Jean Grey, X-23. There's a whole lot, and I could go on for a really long time. But I have comic books to read, so I'm going to leave you with that. Again, Troy David Phillips and Flashback Comics. Come in, check things out. If you have questions, I will be more than happy to come up with answers for you. Thank you all.